The Republican Justice Act, aimed at bipartisan police reform, could reach the Senate floor for debate this week. Joining us now, Wyoming Senator John Barrasso, a Republican leader in the Senate. Senator, good morning.
Thanks, Ed.
Sandra will be here as well. I want to start with the idea that Democrats are pushing you and say if this hits the floor, they want a full ban on chokeholds. They want more federal control over police training. Are you ready to make a deal?
I support the Justice Act. Tim Scott introduced it. I'm an original co-sponsor. It is serious. It is sensible. It is significant, and it's a chance to make a law that will really make a difference. And I'll talk about a couple of things that are in it. One are body cameras. What you just saw in Seattle shows the importance of cameras on officers. Also, the elimination of excessive force. All of these things are critical with a duty to intervene. Efforts to take bad police officers off the force and give good cops what they need to be more effective. As Tim points out, there are about 70% overlap between what is in the Justice Act and what the House of Representatives is promoting. The only thing getting in the way are Democrats who are in the Senate who are now threatening to filibuster an important piece of legislation that is needed in America.
But still, Senator Barrasso, as you know, and Sandra here, Democrats in the House are saying it just does not go far enough. Nancy Pelosi is calling the Senate GOP bill inadequate. Here's Pelosi. Okay, she says House Democrats hope to work in a bipartisan way to pass legislation that creates meaningful change to end the epidemic of racial injustice and police brutality in America. The Senate proposal of studies and reporting without transparency and accountability is inadequate. The Senate's so-called Justice Act is not action. How do you respond, Senator?
Well, I get kind of sick and tired of listening to these Democrats like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, who say this doesn't go far enough, but said nothing when Obama and Biden did nothing all of the time that they were in office. We have a real opportunity to make meaningful, measurable progress that is good for our country, that is good for our communities, and that is good for our police officers. And we should not let this opportunity go away. I think that we put forward is major and it is necessary and will help our communities all across the country. There is bipartisan support for what Tim Scott is offering all around the country. But what we do see is the liberal left and their defund the police, the people that are behind what's going on and what you just showed in Seattle. That may be a liberal pipe dream, but I'll tell you, that's a nightmare for most Americans. And we have to stand up against these folks who continue to shout for defunding the police.
Senator, the president, as you know, had a rally over the weekend in Oklahoma. He tried to make that case about defunding the police, how he thinks it's a radical agenda. And he also took aim at Joe Biden over the Supreme Court and the makeup of it in the future. Take a listen. We'll get you to respond.
The recent Supreme Court cases prove that if Joe Biden is elected, he will stack the court with extremists and the forgotten men and women. Together with everyone else, we'll lose everything.
Yeah, and as you know, any moment now, we may be getting more decisions from the Supreme Court, including a key abortion ruling. Your thoughts on how critical the Supreme Court is in this presidential election?
Well, I think the Supreme Court is a key issue because the next president will likely have opportunities to appoint new members of the Supreme Court. We've seen with the two that the president has appointed already in this administration. Today, we will confirm in the United States Senate a 200th judge nominated by President Trump. These are conservative along the line of Justice Scalia, who know that the job of a judge is to apply the law and not legislate from the bench. So judges are a key part of any president's administration because they have lifetime appointments. Some are there for decades, and I would expect that with the two youngest members of the Supreme Court that President Trump has nominated and we have confirmed in the Senate. So I expect it to be a very big issue, but you know there are Senate Democrats who are calling to, as the President said, stack the court, meaning expand the number of justices from 9 to 11. So if Biden were to become president, they would immediately flip the makeup of the court by putting two very liberal members on the court. That's their threat, which is why we need to hold the presidency and we need to hold the Senate to prevent that.
And those two young justices to which you reference, of course, Kavanaugh and Neil Gorsuch. Ted Cruz going after Chief Justice John Roberts here. Listen.
Judging is not a game. It's not supposed to be a game. But sadly, over recent years, more and more Chief Justice Roberts has been playing games with the court to achieve the policy outcomes he desires.
What do you make of that, of Ted Cruz going after the Chief Justice, saying that he's playing games, trying to achieve the policy outcomes that he desires, a top Republican in the Senate?
Well, Ted gave a very forceful speech on the floor of the Senate. I was there, congratulated with him afterwards. We've had a number of senators who have clerked for the Supreme Court who are disturbed at some of the recent rulings by by the Chief Justice. Today, there may be a new ruling out on an abortion issue coming out of Louisiana. Again, the Chief Justice has been unpredictable, and I'm not sure how he's going to rule on that. He's likely to be the decisive vote. To me, it's a very clear-cut case. It's about if a woman has an abortion, should the doctor performing that abortion have admitting privileges at a nearby hospital within 30 miles in case something happens where emergency care is necessary? As a doctor, I think it's important to have that, but we'll see what the justices and specifically the Chief Justice decides as early as today.
All right. And Senator Barrasso, in fact, breaking news, we just got in the last moment as you were speaking, basically, that the abortion ruling will not come down today. It could come down as soon as tomorrow. The court has now just issued one opinion today. It's a business-related dispute, a securities law case where they ruled on behalf of investors 8-1. Mm-hmm. But you're right. We're watching that abortion case and other cases closely. Senator, appreciate you coming on today. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Sandra.
Thank you, Senator.